Yes, it was very fun. I missed the whole day of school, met Jennifer Hudson, and I was like, yeah, this is my calling. I
Whoa,
like
there
this
you
one.
go. Hi, Aria. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I really appreciate you doing this.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Awesome. Well, I'm Adam, and this podcast is about you and your journey in music.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about your acting career. Obviously, it kind of goes hand in hand with what you're doing now. But I love that you're a songwriter. So I'd love to talk to you about that as well.
Okay, wonderful.
Very cool. So, first off, where were you born and raised?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. What was it like? Or what's it like growing up in Atlanta? Are you still there or are you in LA?
Yes, I'm still in Atlanta. This is always home, even when I go to film or work on something somewhere else. It's nice. It's nice even now that the film industry and a lot is moving to Atlanta. There's a
Mhm.
lot of artists, like as far as music, that are in Atlanta. So it's very helpful. It's nice that I haven't really filmed in Georgia much, but it's nice that I can kind of be here and find good acting classes and find other actors. So I like growing up in Atlanta as an actor and just in general. This is definitely home for life.
Sure. Oh, really? For life? You don't want to move?
Yes. I would move temporarily, and I feel like one day I'll probably have to, but as soon as I'm done filming for whatever, I'm coming right back home.
Moving back home. Very cool. Yeah, it's crazy how much the entertainment industry. I mean, I knew there was a scene obviously in Atlanta, but it's just getting so big there. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot. A lot is moving over there. Every time I tell someone I'm an actor, they're like, "Do you have you filmed at Pinewood? Have you filmed at Tyler Perry Studios? Because like those are
The
really
big
big
ones,
there."
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's so cool. So, what about music? How did you get into music?
Well, both of my parents are music educators, so I grew up around it my
That
entire life.
works.
Their band room. Um, I was definitely like a band director's kid. I was always there. So then when I got around 8 or 9, I wrote my first song, and I look back on it, it's not the best song in the world. I was like 8, but
Usually aren't at
I,
8, but hey, at
yeah,
least you
right,
you
right.
know most kids aren't writing a song at 8. I have a 6 year
Right.
old son that's in first grade, and if he wrote a song or even was interested in that, I'd be like so shocked, even 2
Right.
years
So
from now.
that's what I think when I look back at it. I'm like, I'm really hard on myself, and nitpicky with stuff that I do, but it was pretty good for an 8-year-old. And from then on, I was kind of like, all right, I want to write songs, and that was my way of expressing myself.
Mhm.
So when I wanted, instead of writing in a diary or journaling, I would write songs, and I still do. So that's what kind of got me into it. And now I've, managed to turn it into a career.
That's incredible. Yeah, I listened to your EP Castles earlier today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's cool. I really dig it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. And that came out what, last year?
Yes,
Okay.
Castles Part 1 and Castles Part 2
I
came
was going
out
to
in
ask you about that. So
2021.
There's Castles 1 and Castles 2, correct? And did they both
Yes.
come out around the same time?
Well, actually, Castles 1, uh, forgive me, I don't remember the exact date. I
Oh,
should,
it's okay.
but it was like early 2021, earlier in the year. I released a single, and then I released Castles in like Castles Part 1 in like May, April-ish, somewhere around there. And then I released two more singles later throughout the year, and then I released the day before my birthday, I released Castles Part 2, which was November 26th.
Oh, wow. Oh, your birthday's coming up then.
But kind of, yes.
So yeah, so Castles Part 2 came out just after November then. That's amazing. Or in November.
Right.
Okay. Cool. Okay, well, just to back up here for a second. So you said both your parents are music educators. At what level are they? College, high school? Or do they just teach independently outside of a school district?
Well, my dad, he teaches high school. He's been teaching there since like before I was born, I'm pretty sure. So he's been teaching at the same high school. He's very loyal, clearly. And then my mom, she started like she did middle school, she did high school, she taught elementary, and now she kind of does like music lessons on her own. So that's what she's kind of picked up since I started acting, because like a band director schedule is busy and so is mine. So she's gotten into like music lessons.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So did she kind of manage you early on, or your parents managed you early on with what you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, my mom still does. I have a
Oh,
manager,
cool.
but
The
she's the
day
one
to
who
day go
makes my
to.
team, right? So she's still like my momager. I'm very grateful for her.
That's incredible. Okay, so dad's working at a high school. Mom, like, at what point do your parents go, she's got a lot of talent, or did it start off like they just knew you're interested in performing? Like, were you always the kid performing at a young age?
Oh, definitely. They always they would never force me to do something I didn't want to do, but
Sure.
they always knew I had a gift for it. Like my dad to this day still says, I knew this was going to happen. I knew you were going to blow up and do big things. We just didn't know when it was going to happen.
Mhm.
So he always says that he knew it was going to happen. And I'm sure my mom did as well, because I've just growing up around it, I was always singing and they could see my passion for it and my gifts at a younger age. And they kind of I don't know, they kind of not put me into it, but got me into it. And then I made the decision, okay, I want to do this for real. I want to be on TV. I want to release music, all that.
Sure. And do you play an instrument?
I'm learning piano right now for
Uh-huh.
school. I'm homeschooled, so that's fitting. So it's through my mom. But
Oh, there you go.
so I'm learning piano right now. I'm still a beginner, and I've kind of played instruments here and there, but I don't play an instrument besides like my voice.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because when it came to songwriting, you write your songs and the melodies, I'm sure, obviously, but with the music aspect of it, is that done through like a producer? Do you work with the certain producers?
I work with a couple different producers, Tova Lovely, Devin Barkley. They produced a big chunk of my EPs.
Hmm.
I did a song with Ashton Combs, so he like produced one of them. Um, those are the main ones, and
Sure.
it goes through them. They create the tracks, and I write to it, or I already have a song written, and I kind of match it to one of their tracks, or they make one for me. So usually that's how that goes. But I can go on piano and pick out notes. Like if I have a
Oh,
melody in my head, I can by ear kind of pick it out. It'll take me a minute, but I can kind of figure that out.
okay. Very cool. So like at an early age, prior to 8 and writing the first song, is that when you were in music lessons? Like, what about acting? Were you in musical theater or anything like that?
Yeah, I started with theater. I did dance, so ballet and tap, that kind of stuff, but I did musical theater. I was a plate and a villager in Beauty and the Beast, one of my first roles. So, yay me. So I started doing a lot of theater stuff, and then as I started to shift into like I really was discovering a passion for it, I would do like acting classes and vocal lessons and those kind of things.
Okay. And were you always homeschooled, or was that something that started once you started getting, a lot of roles and having to have a more of a chaotic schedule?
And this is actually my first year of homeschool. I was in public school last year, and then before that, in seventh and eighth grade, well, seventh grade for my class, that's when COVID hit. So
Uh,
shortly before everybody went into online anyway, I did online school because I booked something and I had to move. So online and homeschool aren't exactly the same thing, but I did online school seventh and eighth grade, so most of middle school. But all my life, I've pretty much been in regular school,
okay. Up until COVID, and then that all changed. And then once you made it, you're in
booking,
high
all
school
that.
now,
Yeah,
right? It's like, okay, let's just roll with this because obviously
right.
it wouldn't. There's no point in going going backwards or going back
Yeah, I
when you have to learn
missed so
everything.
much
Yeah.
school. It was insane.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, just to rewind a bit. So at 8, like what made you write the song, or do you remember writing the song, or was it just kind of journaling that turned into something, or was it like reactively pursuing writing a song at this point?
Well, my mom writes songs. She's always written songs, like since before I was born.
Oh,
And
wow.
I knew that. And so at the time, she was heavy in writing songs. She had like a family friend that we know that he makes tracks. His name is Mark. And so he was sending her tracks. And I told him, I was like, or I told her, I was like, I want to try and write a song because, like, not necessarily to release it, and it never got released, but I just wanted to try. And
Mhm.
so he sent me a track. Um, and I remember I wrote a song about my best friend and how much I love her and she's never going anywhere and something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, I wasn't trying to release it. I was just writing it for fun because I wanted to be like my mom. And that's when I was like, oh, I like this. And I think I can get even better at it as I get older.
Sure. Does your mom still write songs?
She might.
Oh,
I
you don't
think
know.
we have a lot on our schedule, but I feel
Oh,
like
sure.
she would definitely write another song, I'm sure.
Okay. It wasn't something that you guys do together and at this point.
We've actually never written a song together.
Oh, maybe for the
As
next
crazy as
EP.
that is. Maybe.
There
Definitely.
you
I would
go.
definitely consider it. She's great.
Okay, so at 8, when do you start booking? Like, when do you book your first role or your first job?
I had to be like 10 because that's when I started acting. Like, a lot of stuff happens around my birthday now that I think about it. But like right before my 10th birthday, I got did my first audition, and that's when I decided I wanted to act, and pursue a career in performing. So it had to be like later on the next year when I was 10. I don't
Hmm.
remember exactly what my first job was, but I was booking like short films and web series and like indie films and those kind of things. So that was when I was 10. I booked a commercial when I was 10 or 11. So that's when it kind of really kicked off.
Okay, once you got the commercial, it was like, okay, this is cool. Like, this is something here.
Yes, it was very fun. I missed the whole day of school, met Jennifer Hudson, and I was like, yeah, this is my calling. I
Whoa,
like
there
this
you
one.
go. Did you come back to school and kids like are like, oh my gosh, like Ari's in a commercial?
I don't even remember. I have like really vague memories of when I first started. I remember the big things, but I do remember I went to LA for an audition once and I didn't end up booking it. But I still went for an audition and I was like, guess who I met, guys? And I came back and they were like, oh, that's so cool. I remember being so excited about the whole thing. So I do remember people in my class like kind of knowing what I was
Uh-huh.
doing and being excited about it.
That's cool. What about I mean, auditioning as a young age of 10, like was that something that was nerve-wracking to you, or were you not really too aware of what was going on as far as that went, or the what was on the
Uh,
line?
I don't I don't know. I think at first I was kind of like I would get discouraged when I wouldn't book certain things and
Sure.
now it's like I'll audition for something and like forget about it and intentionally like throw the sides away whatever that is because I can't get consumed in it. But early on, like when I wouldn't book a job, I would be like, "Wait, I thought I had that one." So the rejection part was what I think made me nervous because in the
Hmm.
beginning I was like, okay, let's do it, but then when I thought I put my best in, oh, that's my job, and then I don't get it, that's what kind of made me a little bit more self-conscious, for lack of a better term, as
Yeah.
auditions still came in.
Yeah, that would be rough, I would imagine, especially being young and going in and then you're getting, this rejection because every actor's gone through that, or you or every musician that's tried to book a show or done this getting I've heard like you get 1,000 no's and all it takes is one yes to
Right.
advance. So it's like in having acting and even music is so subjective where it's just someone's opinion of something right away, and it's
Yeah.
I can
It
imagine
can
that
be a
being
lot.
hard. Yeah. Going into these jobs that are doing these auditions and you just keep getting no's. It's like, oh, like, is this ever going to land?
Yeah, especially when I was like 10. So I was in one thing I've lived I won't say I've lived my life in the spotlight because I think I'm just now starting to get recognized and things like that. But
Hmm.
I've my crucial years of like growing up and finding who I am and developing a style and whatever, all of that was in the midst of acting. So that was definitely a lot. And I think I'm grateful that I was able to not be, I don't consider myself famous now, but not be as well known
Mm.
um early on. I know some people might, but for me, I don't consider myself, oh, I'm a celebrity. I don't think like that. But early on, I wasn't super well known, but I was still working a lot and trying to get up to this point.
Hmm.
So I'm really glad that I had the time to grow into myself before um going public with my life or certain parts of my life because it would have been very difficult going through all of that, trying to figure things out as a kid, as like every other kid is doing, but also being in the public light. So I'm glad I got the time to do that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, being if you were like just a child star at a very early age, obviously, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get to a certain point. Like, at what point does that all change? Like, when do you start getting recognized? Like, is that with when you book all that, or is it before that?
I think it was, I want to say it was all that because that was like my first big thing. I did Harriet and I did Dolly Parton Heartstrings, and like
Uh huh.
that was pre-COVID when that came out. So I was at a Starbucks once and someone was like, "Oh, were you from the Dolly Parton show?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, that was me." So that's when I started feeling like, "Oh, people are seeing what I'm doing." But
Uh
all
huh.
that and then the shift into Better Nate Than Never, which was like a year or so later, I believe. That's when I started feeling like, okay, this is,
Right.
people are recognizing me, people see me, this is it. That's when I started feeling that.
Did you know like because I'm old, so I came from the generation of remembering all that on TV. Like when that was like when I was growing up was the show being on and like Kenan Thompson and all these people coming from that show and there was just like this whole Nickelodeon
Right.
aspect to the whole thing, which was so cool. Like was that something that you like? Did you go back and watch any of that? Were like you aware of it when you were auditioning for the show, or did you even audition, or was it something that kind of
I was aware of it. I knew about, I knew of all that. I'd watched Good Burger. I knew who Keenan and Kel were, and so I had an idea of it. And then when I got the audition, I was like, "Oh, this is a big deal because I've heard of all that. I know where it comes from." And my mom was freaking out because she watched all that.
okay?
So it was. I did have to audition. So when the audition came in, we were very excited, and I got to create sketch characters like in the show. Um, just create the sketch characters. I had three different auditions. The first one, which was a self tape, a callback, and then a, what do they call it? Like a screen test
Yeah.
with Nickelodeon executives and stuff like that. So the whole process, I feel like I was kind of revisiting. We would go back and watch all that episodes and watch the new all that since I came in kind of halfway through. I had maybe a little bit of an advantage because I could see what the new show is too.
Right. You because you came in what the second season or something or the second
Or the
half of it,
second half
half
of
of the
season 11, which was our first season
yeah,
technically.
not the second season obviously because it'd been going on for so long, but yeah. Okay. And was it still because obviously it's a sketch show, was it something on like did you have to improvise? Was that something that was part of the role or was it you kind of had scripted pieces that were you just kind of create a character within?
It was any improv that happened. It wasn't like they told you, okay, now improv here.
Right.
Like usually, like rarely, or else they might have been on set, we're filming, and they're like, no, change this and do something more like this, and
Mhm.
that's where the improv came in. But if anything happened, if you kind of improv something on the day or on during rehearsals, they can change it from there in the script. But we did have a script, but there was a lot of creativity and we were able to put ourselves into the characters and suggest things. Like the grandma character I did was one that I created
Oh
literally
wow.
the day of my audition of my callback because Nicole, the casting director, was like, "So can you do like a grandma or something like a character and bring it back to us later for your audition?" I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." And then obviously I booked it, and then that made it into the show. So there
That's
was a lot of
cool.
room for creativity.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, I just remember that show growing up, and it was such a big deal. Like all those that Keenan and Kel was huge. Good Burger. It's funny because my 6-year-old son like that's like one of his favorite movies. He watches that all like still to this day
He has
like
good
all the
taste.
time. Like, it's just so funny. Wow. And where do you find time to write the CP? Was that during COVID or when did you start? When did you write Castles like those first two EPs?
I believe it was during COVID. That's when I really kind of, I guess, hammered down on it. I think
Hmm.
some of the songs that made it onto the EP, they might have been, or some of the songs that were in the loop to be on the EP, they were written before COVID hit. But then most of the songs that made it on there were made during COVID and produced, written, all of that. So we had a lot of free time, of course, when COVID hit. So that's where a lot of that came from.
Okay. Was it hard to kind of be vulnerable? Because some of the songs are pretty deep, right? I mean, to in some of the topics, was it hard to do that? And then knowing that, like, your parents are going to listen to the songs, or people that are going to be, hear them at this point, like putting something out like that, friends of yours will hear it. Like all of that. Was that something that you were thinking about at all, or not in the least?
Not really. My mom, she literally hears my song right after I record it. We record it at home. My studio is literally in front of me, actually, but we
Oh, wow.
record it all here. So when I'm recording it, I'll say, "Mommy, come in, come listen to what I did." So she kind of hears it anyway. But the lyrics, when I'm writing them, I can't think of anyone else but whatever I'm writing about.
Okay.
Because I just know in my head whatever I'm saying is important. Whatever I'm
Hmm.
going through, someone else is going through as well and needs to hear it. So some of the things that I don't hear talked about in music or hear talked about in general, I almost make it my mission, okay, let me be the one to talk about it since no one else wants to. So I think that almost fuels me that I know other people are going to listen to it, as opposed to making me nervous. And then at the time when I wrote this, I'm not going to lie, I had like 5 friends. So all of them, I was like, you guys already know what I'm going through because I've been to you guys about everything. So
Uh-huh.
it's going to be nothing. I've made more sense, but back then I didn't really think about it like that.
Sure, sure. That makes that, but that does make sense to be able to have, but to have that open communication, to be able to be like, Mom, come in and check this out, or know that your 5 friends will accept what you're going to write and put out, right?
Yes.
That's cool. With now, I want to talk to you about High School Musical. You're probably of the age of growing up with that the original show or the
Or it
movies. I
was a
mean,
little before my time. I was like a baby when it came out, but of course I know what High School Musical is and have seen it, all that good stuff.
okay. So once you get that role, you get to kind of mesh the two. Is this the first? This was kind of the first where you get to sing and be a part of the series as well, right?
Right. This was definitely different. And even on Better Nate Than Never, I sung the finale song, but I also think that was slightly different because the musical aspect of, okay, you're breaking out in song now in the episode, I hadn't fully done that yet. So that was really cool. And I grew up on shows like that, and specifically High School Musical, the musical, the series. I've loved that show since the day it came out. So that was really cool.
Okay, and because you joined what the second season of that show, then is
Or
that the
third
one?
season.
Third season, you come in as like a new character, and
Yes.
what was that like? Like the level of the cast there, and what they had going on for the first seasons, and then coming in as the new character. Was that difficult, or like was there any
Um,
struggle there, or were people excited? Like, tell me about that.
I don't think, I would think I was more excited than nervous because I know how big High School Musical, the franchise is, and then how big this show is. So coming in, knowing that I got to be a part of it, I think when the audition first came in, I was a little like, okay, I already knew who Tim Federle was, the showrunner. So I was
Hmm.
like, okay, here we go. This might, I don't know, give me a leg up because he knows how I work as well. But when I had my callback, he told me and Liamani, we that he wrote the parts for us and that no one else was auditioning. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that was like very a weight off my shoulder because it was my part and my role to get. So I know I can't really mess it up, just bring myself to it.
Okay.
So I wasn't as nervous. I was very excited to meet all of them because it was really cool, like seeing them and like, oh my gosh, you're really in front of me. I'm working with you. I watch you on TV all the time. So that was unreal.
Sure. And when you do an audition for that, even probably Better Nate Than Never, you do you have to do a vocal audition? Like you have to sing in front of them so they know that you can actually, because you sing the finale song, and the movies about you guys like sneak off to do an
Hmm.
audition, right? And you're also in your music, like that's the point of it, right? You're leaving the music
Right.
class to go there. So it's like you have to have that ability anyway. So going
Yeah.
in,
So usually
yeah.
they, or for both, I did a vocal audition. For Better Nate Than Never, I'm pretty sure the first time I sung like one song, but then when I got a callback or redid my audition or something happened where I re-recorded and I did like 3 different songs that time. For High School Musical, I did one song. I might have done one of the songs I did for Better Nate Than Ever, honestly, because I have my go-to audition songs.
Which are
But
what? I want to hear what those are after you finish. Sorry, go ahead.
okay, so I did that one for High School Musical. So all of them require like a vocal tape of you singing, yeah.
Okay. And then what are these songs? What are your go-to, the three that you audition with, or what are the ones that you audition with?
So Some Things Never Change from Frozen 2. Love
Okay.
that one. I did for Better Nate Than Ever. I did Just Like Magic by Ariana Grande because I feel like they specifically requested like pop songs or
Hmm.
poppy songs. So I did that one. I did Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa, and there was one other. I feel like it was slower. It's slipping my mind. It was like
Hmm.
one we added. It wasn't one of my go-tos, but those are like
Okay.
the three.
But those are some heavy hitters, right? I mean, going into hit an Ariana Grande song and or a Dua Lipa song.
Yes. So that was. I was like, I hope I bring it. Wait, that's what it was. I did an Olivia Rodrigo song for Better Nate Than Ever. I was like, that's fitting because I like her. He knows her. Why not?
Okay. Which one? Do you remember?
It might have been Driver's License because at the
Okay.
time that might have
That would
been
have been the hit
all
at
that
the
came out.
yeah, yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, did you do that one for High School Musical? That would have been a move, right?
That would have been a move. Yes. I don't think I did that one. I was like, this feels too on the nose because everyone
Yeah,
else
right,
writing
right.
for this is gonna do that.
Sure, sure. Okay, that's funny. Yeah, and then you did Fairy Tales is the last song on the in Better Nate Than Never, and that's kind of how the movie wraps, right?
Or About to Go Off. Fairy Tales is my own song.
Oh, About to Go Off. Sorry, I'm getting confused. So Fairy Tales is the new one that you just released, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Tell me about this song. And is this going to be part of a new project that you have going on?
Well, we'll see. Fairy Tales was a very almost spur of the moment. I wrote it while we were filming High School Musical. But then when I got home and we finished filming, I heard a track that had already been sent by Tova Lovely, one of the producers I mentioned, and I was like, oh, this would fit if I kind of reworked these parts and I fit it to that track. And I did that in like maybe an hour or two. Like I went
Wow.
up, I rewrote it, I sat down in the studio for like 2 hours and knocked the whole song out, and that's the Fairy Tales that is out now. So it was pretty quick. My mom heard it. She was like, "Oh, we have to release this like today." I was like, "Okay."
That's cool. So you guys just put it right out. You don't have to answer
Yes.
to any record label, or it's you just go and do it as you want.
Right, because we're an independent, and I think that's very helpful because I don't have all those eyes and ears on me, and I can just be free creatively.
That's awesome. So then you can make all the decisions. It's not like you have to send it to some label and then the A&R has to listen to it and these people have to listen to it and then they go,
Right.
you should change
Yeah.
this lyric here or let's try this. And then you're going back and forth. It's just, I think this song is awesome. Mom
Thank
thinks
you.
the song is awesome. Adam thinks the song is, let's just put it out. And then it goes into the ethos. That's awesome.
Yes. When you said Adam, I thought you meant because that's my dad's name. So I
Oh,
was like, "How do you
oh,
know my dad's name?" But
It-
that was okay. Sorry.
That's awesome that your dad's name is Adam too. That's cool.
Yes.
Adam and Adam know your yeah. So you just throw it out. That's awesome. And are you still writing? Do you write pretty often? I mean, if to be writing on the set of High School Musical, like is that something you kind of do to decompress?
Yeah, I write very often, or right now I like kind of revisit songs that I've written in the past and I might rework them or just sing them in general. I haven't written a song in maybe a month or so because I've been
Mhm.
working on something else. I've been writing a short film, so a different kind of writing.
Oh,
So my focus has been somewhere else, but music and creating music, writing songs has been, I definitely do it a lot, even if I don't plan on releasing it.
okay. I love that. And so right now the focus is you're writing a short film, you said, and then are you still
Yes.
doing High School Musical the series?
No, since we wrapped, I haven't been back. I don't
Okay.
know if I'll be brought back. I don't know
You don't
where
know
that
what
is,
they're yeah,
but
sure. Okay. So right now it's you've shifted your focus to your own thing.
yes.
Very cool. Very cool. And then obviously you're writing songs, releasing songs. Um, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this. I wish yeah, I can't wait to see this film. Hopefully it comes out soon enough.
Yes, hopefully. I hope so too. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I do have one more quick question before I let you go, Aria. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Mm, okay. I've gotten a lot of advice and have a lot of advice that I can give, but the biggest things are ensuring that you're really passionate about this. Make sure you're not writing music or creating anything just to get fans or to go viral or for the opinions of other people. Make sure you're doing it for yourself and you're doing something that you enjoy. So whether that be writing the music and creating the content that you want to create or not creating content because that's not truly what you want to do. You just want the fame behind it. That's not like it's literally it's so difficult to push through something that you're not passionate about. That's why a lot of the instruments I've tried, they weren't my thing, and that's okay. But you have to recognize what your thing is and stick to that and be passionate about that because that's what's going to get you through those really hard times and those hard moments with hard people, whatever it may be.
Bringing it backward.